live with Big Money Bish. So tell me, what do you do for a living?
So I work for a medical device company. It's called Edwards Life Sciences. That's focused on like cardiac medical devices, valve replacements, shunts, basically trying to treat heart disease. I work as an engineering manager for them. I got a team of like 4 engineers. So,
do you think you were paid fairly?
No, of course not. I don't think a lot of people tell you paid fairly, but I think I'm paid decent market rate, but I think for my aspirations and my lifestyle, as you'll probably learn about a little bit, I kind of want to see bigger and better. And I think that my biggest kind of gripe is, as a salaried employee, my performance is not a direct correlation to my salary. And if I outperform the people around me, or if I do a really good job, the check that comes in is exactly the same, as opposed to some other pay structures where, the higher you perform or the more you exceed, you are monetarily incentivized or rewarded. So I think that kind of fits a little bit better, right? Betting on yourself, right? People that are willing to bet on themselves and know that, they're willing to put in the work and whatnot. I think that structure may be a little better for them, but in no way do I do poorly for myself, and I'm able to, pay the bills, like you said.
Yeah. How long have you been with the company?
I've been with the company since 2018. So I think I'm coming up on 7 years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
You plan to stay a lot longer?
They've been treating me pretty well. I have like other aspirations and other things in the works that I'm hoping that I can fulfill in the next 5 years or so. But for the time being, I'm pretty happy with it.
Pays the bills. You don't mind it.
Right. Pays the bills. Allows me to have some fun every now and then. And yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. You have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Which we can talk about. Okay. So Irvine, your rent is kind of expensive. It's $2,600.
Yep.
What was it when you first moved in?
When I first moved in, I moved in during COVID in 2020.
Okay.
And when I first moved in, I got a nice little COVID discount. I think it started at about $1,910. And for the first 3 years, I was seeing about an 8% increase year to year. I think they were trying to make up the low rent from the COVID years. It's stabilized a little bit for the past 2 years. Last 2 years, it's been about somewhere between 2 and 3% increase yearly. But yeah.
Okay. Nice. Cool. So let's look through some of the transactions and the spending we have. I highlighted some of the interesting looking ones that we could talk about.
Oh no.
Okay, so we talked about rent already. Okay. LA Clippers, $1,060.
Yeah, decided to go to one of the playoff games. Unfortunately, the Clippers, they won that game, but then they shit the bed in Game 7. So I really wish I didn't spend that money on that. But it was, to be fair, that was for 4 tickets. And I got paid back by some of my friends, but we had some pretty nice seats. But
well, $250 a ticket doesn't seem horrendous for a playoff game.
No, right? That's what I am through and through Clipper fan. So I got a little Chuck Mark certified. So we have tickets to what they call the Wall, which is supposed to be like Clipper fans only. It's like not necessarily reduced prices. $250 is not necessarily a reduced price, but for a playoff game, they're trying to bring Clipper fans into the stadium. And so I don't think they mark up those specific seats, because you have to I had to submit a picture of myself wearing Clipper gear to buy those tickets and things like that. So, so I think that it's Ballmer has done his best to try and make it an enticing place to come watch the game if you're a Clipper fan, and kind of keep some of the away fans out of there. Because I know if you go to a Laker game, you probably pay $1,000 just for 1 ticket for a playoff game. So, but yeah, that was for 4 tickets. So,
okay, nice. Yeah, Super King. That's the Otterby store, isn't it?
That's right. So it's a funny story is I'm actually my parents' personal door dasher. So when I go to Super King, a lot of the time I have to when I come home to visit them, a lot of the time I'm coming home with, I had to buy like a Yeti backpack for cold storage and ice packs and all that. So I'm an unpaid DoorDash driver for my family, which is kind of a cool gig. I should put on my resume.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also shop there myself though, because it's a pretty cost-effective supermarket.
It is cheap. Yeah. So we had, what is this? SC Fingers Crossed, $95.
Yeah, so I go to quite a few events. These are like concerts and shows and like that. Fingers Crossed is like a promotional company and do like house music and things like that. So here and there I'll buy some tickets. Here
Okay.
and there is probably a little.
Well, you bought 2 tickets on the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
$95 and $80.
yeah. I was upset that when I first went in, $95 was the tier 2 price, and then I happened to refresh and it was the tier 1 price, so I decided to buy it at a cheaper price, and we'll see what I do with the other ticket. It'll be hit or miss, but I will be trying to let go of that other ticket at the higher price.
Okay. Nice. We got Cheb Hot.
Oh, Chiba Hut.
Chibot?
Shout out Chiba Hut. Great sandwiches. One of the best sandwiches I've ever had in my life.
I would hope so, because it's $58.
Yeah, I mean, I think I bought a few sandwiches to try them out, like a little variety pack. But
You made a little charcuterie board of sandwiches?
yeah, like above like 12-inch sandwiches. Yeah, I had like 3 of them. I ate them over a few days. But yeah, they have a sandwich called the G14. Highly recommend. It's also a very interesting establishment if you go visit it.
Why?
It's a very 420 forward. Let's just put it. I think that the name of the sandwich or the size of the sandwich was like joint blunt or something like that. So depending on how big of a sandwich that you buy. So if you're ever interested in seeing some really, really weird looking place with great sandwiches, I would check it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, they don't have locations here, do they?
They do. There's one right by San Diego State.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
actually the original location.
Oh,
And then
nice.
they've opened up a few more. I think I got that one on my way to Coachella. I stopped by in Riverside because there's not one in Orange County. But anytime I get kind of near Chiba Hut, I got to get that G14. It's fire.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. This one's a little suspicious. FGT Sun Soaked. $159.
Oh, that's another event. Yeah, it's like a festival that's happening in September out in Orange County. So it's kind of in my backyard. So I figure sometimes when I go to these festivals, I gotta go like get a hotel or an Airbnb and kind of all these other sunken costs. So this one actually happens to be in Huntington Beach, which is kind of Uberable from my place, so I don't have to pay for all those things. So in my eyes, it was a good deal. I'll be able to sleep at home afterwards, so it won't cost me so much.
Yeah. Cool. And then, so let's talk about so we have Santander consumer bill pay, $679. I think this is probably a car payment.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
a car payment.
What kind of car?
I bought a Tesla Model Y of May of 2024. Before that, I was driving my college car. I figure at this age and at this time, it's probably time for a nice little refresh. I didn't have any cameras. I barely had Bluetooth. Car was kind of slow.
You had the janky little radio to Bluetooth transmitter.
Yeah, something like that, exactly. And it kind of got to the point with that car where it was a Toyota RAV4, so I knew it was going to last forever. So I got to basically the crossroads where do I spend, $5,000 to kind of do all of the big maintenances and make this thing last for another, 5-10 years? Or do I use this as an opportunity to upgrade? So instead of paying the $5,000, I decided to buy a $50,000 car instead.
Yeah. What interest rate?
I actually got a good deal on the interest rate, and I wasn't really shopping for a Tesla, but they kind of came out and they basically promoted a 0.99% APR, so 1% interest rate. At the time, the market rates were well above 7% for a car. So I kind of took this as an opportunity to use free money, quote unquote, and it kind of swayed what I was looking to purchase. So I kind of locked in on buying something from Tesla, given those rates, and I'm a pretty tall dude, so the 3 wasn't going to work for me. So we decided to go with the Y.
Yeah. Well, what other car would you have considered if this wasn't available?
Obviously I was looking for SUVs. I was looking for something in that somewhere between the Lexus, Acura range. I did really like the BMW X5, but I've gotten quite a few, like if I'm going to hold the car for a long time, I've gotten some warnings on BMWs are great until 100,000 miles, and then they kind of become a pain in the ass to maintain. Parts are expensive and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of crossed that a little bit off my list. But yeah, I was kind of looking in that Lexus Acura range, but those cars were not cheap either. This Model Y was actually much less expensive than that. I was looking at new cars. I didn't really go into the used market. That's something that I didn't really tap into. Probably could have, but I get a little worries with like previous owners and how they drive cars and stuff like that. So figured I'd get a brand new car. And then given like my proximity to work, my ability to charge at work, that was kind of a big thing for me. We have quite a few chargers at my office. And at the time, the chargers the first 2 hours were free. So that kind of played into a little bit of my factor that, obviously a Tesla has range. And if you're driving all around, county or doing long distance drives, it's not necessarily the best car. But my commute's about 1.6 miles to work. I was getting 2 hours of free charging for a while, but people in my work abused that. So now they took that away. So now all the charging's paid. But still, I think it's in terms of my gas savings from the RAV4 to this, I'm still up there. But now I have a $670 car payment that I didn't used to have. So trade-offs.
Well, not just that, but now you have insurance of $249 a month also.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So only in the payment and insurance, that's $928 a month.
Right. Yeah. It's not cheap. To be fair, my insurance on my other car wasn't that cheap either. On the RAV4, it was more like $190, $200. I do have an accident on my record from, I want to say July of 2022. So I'm hoping that I can clear that. I think it's been on your record for 3 years, right? So I'm hoping maybe the next cycle I can kind of get a reduction. But I also think they treat Teslas a little bit differently. It's more of a performance car compared to my last RAV4. Obviously, it's a more expensive car. So if anything happens to it, the insurance is going to be on the hook. So I think that probably played into it a little bit. But yeah, it's a pricey bill.
Yeah, for sure. And your registration was also...
Oh, the registration was nuts.
$723.
Yeah, I was not expecting a registration bill that high. That one came as a surprise.
Yeah.
I think they used to be $150 for my RAV4, so quite a significant difference. But
yeah. Well, if you factor that into the monthly cost of the car, that comes out to about $60 a month. So that basically brings your operating cost of the car to $989.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you regret getting the Tesla knowing this now? Would if you could go back, would you do it all over again?
I think I would. And the reason for that is it's been a different driving experience, and I've never really had a car that's been fun to drive. Kind of looking back at it, maybe I could have done a little bit more homework and maybe found a similar experience in a used market for a little bit less. That may have made sense. Again, I was a little bit fearful of previous drivers and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. And, you never really know what you get when the used car. Obviously you can get certified pre-owned and things like that to kind of help ease the mind. But I've also seen some people buy used cars and have them kind of shit the bed a little bit after. And then I've seen people buy used cars that have been taken care of by car people, right? And understanding who the previous owner was and what they did to the car and doing their homework and all that. But all that takes time too, and it's effort and then, putting it in. Could I have done it? Probably. Would have saved me money? Yes. Did I want to do it at the time? Probably not. And I think, something about a brand new car. Also, getting the Tesla was a very simple transaction. It was like buying it off Amazon. I just went into the app, no money down, low interest rate. I paid a $250 finder's fee kind of thing for them to or build the car or find the car. I don't know what it was, but put $250 down and they handed me a car. So that was kind of a cool experience.
Okay.
The fees kept coming later though.
Okay. Well, that makes sense why the payment is so high.
Yeah.
So how long is the loan for?
The loan is for 6 years. So typically a car loan is 5 years, but they offered me the 1% APR, 0.99% APR for over a 6-year loan, which I kind of took advantage of at the time. Given the low interest rate, again, we kind of talked about this, it's free money, quote unquote. So, I figured that by taking out or putting no money down, kind of trying to extend this over the longest life, I can take the money that I was saving up that I was planning on buying a car with and kind of putting that into the market and hoping that I can get, returns on that and just, make the payments over time. I think over the life of the loan, I'm only paying about $1,000 in interest, which isn't so bad. So basically getting a $50,000 loan over 6 years for $1,000 is pretty cheap money, right? You talk about people saying money's cheap and it all comes down to interest rates and stuff like that. So at 1%, I thought it made sense and take that money, put it in the market, and then make kind of the monthly payments. And then over 6 years, it lowers my monthly payment, obviously, versus 5 years, something like that. And so that was kind of the thought process going into that.
Yeah. So you're effectively trying to arbitrage the interest between what you are saving in interest on the car versus what you'd be earning in the market.
Correct.
And the difference is what you would be pocketing.
Correct. So
what's been your year-to-date return in that money that you've invested?
Yes, I've had some pretty decent investments. I think my year-to-date return right now is about 13%, which is pretty solid, starting from January. And, It looked a little uglier a couple months ago, but we've gotten a little bit of rebound in the market, which has been pretty good. And I was able to buy some of those dips and stuff like that. So I didn't actually just, as soon as I bought the car, I didn't just take whatever leftover cash I was and just dump it in right away. I was kind of trying to, wait for dips and, try to be a little bit smart with it and find entry points that I was content with and buying at that time. So, I think I have about a 13% return rate. Hopefully things get a little bit better here in the next couple months, but we'll see.
Yeah.
There's other things that went into it too. I think I got like a $7,500 credit on the car from the federal. There's been some conversations from like the political landscape that might go away. So there were some rumblings about that. Obviously we were going into, election year and things like that and how things might change. So, I probably could have waited. And if I waited, I probably could have gotten the newer one, which I don't really like, which I kind of won on that one. I don't like the way the back looks and things like that. But, I was comfortable at the time with the decision that I made with the low interest rates, the money down, my old car needing work. I was able to sell that too and kind of get some of that money back from there and kind of put that in. So it all kind of worked out. I was comfortable with the risk that I was taking. Obviously, it's a nicer experience driving this car, and there's a dollar amount to that. Now, is it worth it? That's a different question. I think depending on the person and depending on their driving experience and whatnot, they'll answer that a little bit differently. But as long as you're comfortable with the decisions you make and you're willing to deal with the consequences, why not?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. What else we got? We can keep going through. We'll go through the Costco card. Next.
Lovely card.
Costco.
Great cashback.
It is. I have this card.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
The only thing is they only let you redeem it once at the end of the year.
Correct. But I'm never going to cancel my Costco card, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a little bonus check in February.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends when you set up the account, but mine's in February.
Mine's in February too, I think.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so we went to Coachella.
Yeah. It's a great time.
Let's we have a lot of charges here for SQ Levy at Coachella.
Yeah. Coachella costs a shit ton of money.
Yeah. Are these just drinks or food?
Both. Those are mostly non-alcoholic drinks. So Golden Voice doesn't want to hear me say this, but I sneak in a lot of alcohol every day. I think quite a bit actually to kind of,
How do you do that?
So if you go on Amazon, selfless plug to Amazon, I'm not sponsored or anything like that. They have these things called disposable flasks, and they're like basically made of plastic, and you can fit almost half a liter of liquor inside one of them. So between our group, we probably bring in somewhere between 2 and 3 liters of liquor every day. So that kind of covers our alcohol bill, but it's hot over there. It's about like 100 degrees. So you need water, Gatorades, food. So you kind of have, everything is overpriced, I think, except for the water. Water is actually pretty cheap. It's about $2.
Okay.
But everything else is like, I don't know, you want a plate of food, you're spending at least $30.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's good. Usually the water is like $5-10 at these things.
I think if water was $5 and $10 at Coachella, then everyone would die.
Yeah. Well, in total, all these food and drinks, they came out to, They came out to $400.
Wow.
But that's not even, that's just food and drinks. Like,
that is the tip of the iceberg, brother.
Yeah. Let's break down the total cost, right?
Oh God.
So
I hope my mom's not watching.
How much were the tickets?
So I went to both weekends of Coachella. It's a 2-weekend festival. I actually happened to go both weekends. So each weekend was $600 per ticket. So $1,200 in tickets.
For one person?
For one person. That's just to get through the doors.
Okay. Okay. And then lodging.
Yeah. So lodging is quite expensive. There's the camping option, but I don't know if you know me, but I don't camp. I've never camped in my life, whether it's in the outdoors or whether it's at a festival. So camping is not an option for me. So we have to get an Airbnb. And given that I kind of go a couple of weekends, me and my buddies, we all get together and we actually rent a pretty nice, luxurious house in Palm Desert. The Airbnb for 1 month, we do rent it for 1 month. I know that the festival is only 2 weekends, but we rent it for the entire month, was a whopping $15,900.
Okay.
And that's that's without the security deposit.
But this is obviously the Coachella price. Right?
100%. I think that same house, if you were trying to rent it today, for a month, they'd probably charge you like 8, maybe 7.
Okay.
But it is a nice house. It's got like 5-6 bedrooms, a casita, a pool, all that kind of stuff. So it can house a pretty big group, and we kind of roll deep when we go to Coachella, you know. So
How many of you split the bill?
so it gets a little bit complicated because we have like the core group, right? And the core group kind of tries to pitch up front to pay for the initial costs. And then you always have the stragglers. And essentially the way we work it out is so like the core group will pay for it up front. And then all the like last minute add-ons or people that potentially are going to Stagecoach, which is also the third weekend, like the third weekend of Coachella, we'll almost like sublease them rooms. Like we all of a sudden become the house owner and we kind of sublease those rooms to them. So you never really know until the very end how much the total cost was. But for me individually this year, it was $1,200 for the month. But yeah, so you got people coming in and out of that house. It's actually a pretty funny sight. You know, people moving in, people moving out, people you never met before sometimes, and like the third weekend or whatever, the friends of friends and whatnot. But, you know, once you get to that, you know, when you see a bill that big, you're just trying to sell any room as much as you can, right? Try to recoup some of that cost.
Yeah. Have any of those people actually been cool and you've kept in touch with them, the randoms?
It's funny. You actually like, so we've done this a few years in a row. We get the same house every year. And after the first year, you don't see them again until the next year. They want to live in the same house again, just because of the convenience factor. And obviously like they don't have to, you know, these people are, you know, they just send a Venmo. They don't have to deal with signing the lease. Like we have to get renter's insurance on the house. You know, I stock the house with food and alcohol from Coachella or from Costco and things like that. So they basically get to walk in and, you know, kind of have an all-in price. So as for them, it makes a lot of sense and it's really convenient. So no, I don't see them until the next year around April when they come back to Coachella.
Okay. Yeah, average bro relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you spent $500 at Palm Desert Costco too.
Yeah. We had to replenish.
What is that, like water, food, alcohol?
Yeah, the whole 9 yards. Water, food, alcohol. Food is like eat like you're in college again, right? Like pizza pockets and, you know, bagel bites and a lot of bullshit, honestly. It's not great for you. But when you come home from a long day at Coachella, the last thing you want to do is chef up like a 5-course Michelin star meal. So it's a lot of just whatever you can make that's quick and easy, things like that. But yeah, that's, you know, walk into Costco, spend $500 pretty easily. It's not a crazy number.
Yeah, okay. So we got tickets, lodging, Costco, and food at the festival.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, so on weekend 2 of the festival, I actually upgraded my ticket on the last day. So that was another $100 surcharge to go from regular to VIP on the last day. I was tired. You go to VIP, there's like shade. There's no lines for food and drink. And it's just a more convenient just experience. So there's another $100 spent there. Outfits, you know, you go 6 days, you know, Coachella's a pretty trendy, you know, festival. You gotta be looking your best. A lot of girls, you gotta be looking nice. So I had to buy some new outfits, spend a few $100 on there. I think maybe like $300, $400, something like that. That's reusable though, right? But I always say that, and then you never wear the same outfits at any other Coachella. So it's like you reuse it for like going out and stuff like that. So it's like that's like a capital investment, right? That depreciates over time.
Sure. Okay. Outfits. It's not one I would have thought about.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm sure there was more like, you know, onesie twosies expenses here and there, but I think that for the most part covers a lot of it. But that's not a small bill. I think we've just racked up a few thousand just talking about it right now.
Yeah. So the all-in cost here is $3,700.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's a tropical vacation.
Yeah. Well, this is a desert vacation for us.
Do you think that's worth it?
I am starting to think it's less worth it nowadays. Before, it was really exciting. It was kind of a reunion with friends and all that kind of stuff. $3,700 goes a long way in a different country, you know, with flights and hotels and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't think anyone can look you dead in the face and say it's worth it. But when I'm there, am I having a good time? Yeah. When I come home, do I look at my credit card bills? Not for a little while before I have to pay them. Do I tell my mother how much the full in cost is? Absolutely not.
She's about to find out.
She's about to find out. I'm going to get an angry phone call here in a little bit.
I mean,
sorry, Mom.
Well, yeah. What's she going to do? You don't live at the house anymore.
Well, disappointment is the worst part, man.
Yeah. Well, you had 2 Costco Palm Desert trips, actually. You had the $500 one on the 16th of April.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one on the 2nd of May, and that was $200.
Yeah.
Probably just more of the same.
Yep. We got to replenish.
I
think that one we actually had that was after Coachella. I think we had a barbecue. So we went out.
Oh, okay.
We got a bunch of steaks and it was kind of the last weekend of the house. So
not necessarily Coachella.
No,
specific.
not necessarily. Yeah, no, but it was part of, if we didn't rent that house for a month, we would have not had that barbecue. So I think you can probably rope it into that expense.
Yeah.
That April week or that month of April for me usually is a little bit expensive.
Yeah.
As you can see.
As we can clearly see.
Yeah. 4Gs.
Okay. And then the other car, the Sapphire. Yeah. Is this the Sapphire Reserve or Preferred?
This is the Preferred.
So what's the annual fee on this?
$100.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Reserve is the expensive one.
Yeah, the Reserve is the one that's like $600.
Okay.
I don't travel enough to really get the perks out of the Reserve. I think sometimes with those cars, some people will tell you they make sense, right? But you have to use up every perk and travel and like hotel credit here, flight credit here, the lounge, all this other stuff. It's almost a chore to use all the perks, right? So a $600 annual fee to me doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe if I was traveling frequently, then it kind of makes sense. But to me, the Preferred for $100 makes sense. The big thing is I actually stack those cards. I don't know if a lot of people do this, but I have the Chase Freedom Unlimited card, which I think is about 1.5% on everything, has some better rewards. I don't know if people know this, but you can transfer the rewards over from your Unlimited to your other cards. So the nice thing about the Reserve and the Preferred, both of them unlock the Chase Total Rewards or Ultimate Rewards or whatever it is. And sometimes you can use those points to get discounted flights and hotels and things of that nature. So I'll usually run up that Freedom Unlimited card and then transfer my points over and then utilize the benefits of the Sapphire card. The only thing is that on Freedom Unlimited card does have a foreign transaction fee. So when I'm overseas or in a different country, it doesn't have to be overseas, then I'll run up the Preferred card because there's no transaction fees. It doesn't make sense. So
yeah,
I kind of try to utilize, right? Like you have all these cards and, with a little bit of mapping and thought planning, you can try to use them to get the most out of them, right? Like might as well.
Yeah. Well, you use this foreign exchange on this card because you went to Tulum.
Yeah.
A couple weeks after Coachella.
Yeah, I had a good time in Tulum.
Yeah. What was the reason for the trip? Just vacation?
Yeah. So, I actually was a guest for my friend who was like in his president's club for, like tech sales.
Okay.
So I actually I got free flight, free hotel, basically a lot of it comped. All I had to do was pay for any expenses that were outside of the resort. But we did go out every night when we were in Tulum on a 5-day trip. So, that was kind of the context of the trip. So, in my head, I thought I was ahead, obviously with the flights and the hotel and the food and the alcohol that the resort paid for. So, I was swiping that card a little bit frivolously out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we had about $800 spent on that trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Assuming it was a really fancy resort.
Yeah.
This is probably nothing compared to what you would have spent.
Correct.
If you
right.
were paying.
Yeah. Also, you get to go on vacation, right? It was with one of my boys. We had a good time.
You were his plus one.
Yeah, I was the plus one, man.
Sounds romantic.
Yeah. No romance happening, but
Yeah, we went to Cancun, but we didn't go to Tulum.
Tulum sucks, bro. Tulum is let me tell you, Tulum sucks. Tulum it's a money grab. It's a waste. Anyone out there, unless you're like a girly Instagram girl that wants to take pictures in front of, whatever, Tulum is a money grab, 100%. I just want to know, the conference that all these people got together at that thought, listen, I have a great new idea. We're going to go to Tulum, Mexico. We're going to open a half restaurant, half club with sparklers everywhere indoors. And it's going to be this boho theme because there's no fucking bar in that place that does not have the same exact fucking theme. They all look exactly the same. They are all boho, tiki, indoor, outdoor space. I think actually you probably make a pretty good business venture if you go to Tulum and actually just have something that looks completely different because you'll be the only one in that entire city that looks different. They all look exactly the same. I don't know, that city's kind of run down now. I mean, people used to say it's like, oh, it's fantastic. So they don't even have roads, bro. Like you'd be driving on like these dirt paths, and a lot of time you'd be looking out, and there's no Ubers. Like the taxi, from what I understand, there's like a taxi mafia, and they beat up Uber drivers. So the Uber is available as an app in Tulum, but there's no drivers because you'll get your ass kicked. So these taxi drivers, like God knows where they take you on these dirt roads. Next thing you know, you pop out and guess what? Some boho tiki themed restaurant on the other side, serving $25 drinks in Mexico. I'm like, okay, in LA, I guess I get it. It's expensive here, but we're in fucking Mexico, man. What is this? So yeah, if you're trying to go to Tulum and you're not like an Instagram girly or a content creator, do yourself a favor. Don't go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm going to make a note of that.
Yeah,
don't go to Tulum.
Don't go to Tulum.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. If you're a +1 for a comp trip, go to Tulum.
Okay.
Don't pass up a comp trip. But
yeah. Any other vacations coming up? Any other?
No, I don't think I got any vacations. I got to save some money, bro. You saw my expenses. It's time to sit my ass at home. Got to stay indoors.
Stay in good old Irvine.
Yeah. Irvine's kind of boring. I'll venture out to like Costa Mesa, Newport area. A little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe not so much on the $4,000 a month trip to Coachella. Or Tulum wasn't too bad, but that was with some help for sure.
Yeah. I think when my wife and I went to Spain for our honeymoon, we spent probably around $5,000 for a 10-day trip to Spain.
Yeah, I get it.
So, I mean, if this is important to you,
I'm sure. I think it's important now, but right, what you think important is now and what you think important is in 5-10 years from now, I think it's completely different. So I probably regret all this. Like, for example, my early 20s to mid 20s, I spent a lot of time in Vegas doing the whole bottle service thing and all that. That's, looking back at it, that was a big waste of money. And that was money when I didn't really have it either. Like, like at least, and I don't know if this is just, I don't know, like mental gymnastics that I do, but at least now I feel like, I've worked hard. Checks are coming in. They're a little bit better. Obviously, I could be saving out on a home or property or things like that, or any sort of passive income ventures or things at this point. But at least now, like, when you relatively look at, the expenditures versus total compensation, it's a little bit better. But I was dropping mad cash in Vegas when I was making, $60,000, $70,000 a year. I think those are the times I kind of look back at it and I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done that so much.
You don't think the memories were worth it?
What memories? I was too drunk. I just remember the Venmos getting sent out and it was like, fuck.
Yeah. So I guess if you could go back to your early 20s, would you change anything?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I would stay out the club so much. There's nothing good that happens at the club. I mean, it's fun, I guess, for 3 hours, but you spend basically your entire utility check in a couple minutes, right? Between drinks and all that for what? Like a few hours of music, try to talk to some girls, dance, wake up with a hangover, eat an Advil for breakfast, not trying to talk to anyone for 6 hours. Yeah, I know. Was it the best spend of money? No, but you're young and dumb. That's what I was. So grew out of it a little bit. I still like going to the shows and stuff, but I think I'm a little bit more reluctant to go and drop, $2K or whatever as a group on a table or something like that. Usually we just figure it out. Plus, sometimes you know some people that can get you in, network and stuff like that, and they kind of help you out, especially in that scene, right? That scene is like, if you know somebody in that industry and stuff like that, I think there's other ways to go about it.
Yeah.
Probably a little cheaper.
Yeah.
Maybe save it for like big occasions, but like we don't need to celebrate Friday because it's Friday, right? Like that's not necessarily a reason to celebrate. Birthday, okay, cool. Vacation once in a while, that's fine. But you celebrating that you wrote a report at work, so you want to go drop $500 at the club doesn't really make sense.
A little depressing when you put it that way.
Yeah, exactly, right? So yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we grew out of that. Obviously, all these things kind of come together to make up, your growing and your upbringing.
Yeah.
A little frontal lobe development took place too, I'm sure, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're all the way there yet, but I think we're close.
Yeah. We didn't talk about, you still have student loans, right?
No, I actually paid them off. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm all paid off on it. Thank you very much. Yeah, student loans paid off. Just funny because I paid off student loans, so I went to celebrate and spend some money. So, but funny how it works. But yeah, my student loans are fully paid off.
Nice.
Yeah.
So no more debt besides the car?
The car is the only debt that I have, correct.
Nice.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much student loan debt did you have in total?
I think all in all, it was about, thank you, mom and dad. You helped me out a lot, but I think it was all in all about 40 grand.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
And you have a master's
I do have a
degree
master's.
too.
Yeah. My parents did a lot of work. So thanks, mom. Thanks, dad. Love you.
That's good. And then, so how long did it take you to pay it off then?
So I graduated in 2016 with both masters and my undergrad. And then I think I finally paid it off last year before I got the, oh, you know what? I actually, when I sold my car, the RAV4 that we talked about earlier, when I sold my car, I actually took a little bit of that. I only think I had like $4,000 left. It's a little car for like 6.5, I think. So I took that $4,000 and I paid it off. So I was basically at 32. So I've had those graduated 2016, paid it off in 24. So about 8 years.
Yeah.
I was holding on to them for about 8 years. I was trying to be a little bit smart about it. Obviously, like I'd had loans at different interest rates. So I was contributing, a decent amount of money. I was trying to pay off the high interest loan, the high rates first. I did actually, when I started working at a company called Applied Medical before I went to Edwards that we talked about earlier for 2 years. And I actually was able to, that's when I was doing my master's while I was working. And they actually offered me, which was something I really took advantage of at the time. They offered me a $10K loan at 0% APR from the company. So I actually took that loan out from the company. It was kind of like a perk that they gave. And I used that to pay my highest interest rate. So my grad school interest rates were much higher than the ones that I was carried over from my undergrad, like FAFSA and all that kind of stuff. So I think those ones were like 6% interest rates. And then my undergrad ones were more like 3.9 to 4.5. So I took that 10K and I was trying to be smart about it, and I paid off the higher rate loans and basically assumed a 0% loan, right? So I was making payments to both, right? To my student loan organization or whatever, the Sharks, and to my company at the time. But before I could pay off the loan, I actually left the company. So I was a little bit worried that they were going to ask for like a lump sum to pay it back. But I was able to negotiate a deal with them. And oddly enough, they just increased my minimum payments, but they didn't charge me interest to continue paying them. So I just upped my payments to the company when I went over to Edwards, and I was able to kind of pay those off. And then I kind of used that as a negotiation tactic with my first job to get a signing bonus. So I got that signing bonus from my work, which in the grand scheme of things, I forgot about taxes. So when I negotiated my signing bonus, I negotiated it for the amount that was left on my old company's loan, but then I realized they were going to take half of it. So I probably should have negotiated maybe double my signing bonus, but you live and you learn. But so yeah, I kind of try to, you got to navigate, right? Like financial literacy isn't something that they really teach you in school and things like that, but there's a lot of content out there. I think people are kind of diving into that. There's a lot of things that you can read. No one tells you to read it, but I would encourage people to look at it. Even something as simple as like, it's not rocket science to take a look at your debt and find out which one has the highest APR and start paying that one first, right? And then, you let that one stack up. That's something that's pretty simple. Mm-hmm. Making sure you make minimum payments on your credit cards. In reality, you shouldn't have too much credit card debt. I know some people necessarily don't have the luxury of being able to pay it all off at once or something like that. And, times get tough and things like that. But at least making the minimum payment, you see people all the time that, just because it's a piece of plastic and it's not cash, they'll swipe it and they think that, oh, look, I can get all this stuff. And they bite off more than they can chew. And that's what these credit card companies make money off of, right? Like they expect people to do that. They tank their credit scores and things like that. So I think earlier, right? The earlier, the better, right? By the time, if you're my age, right? And you start finally getting into financial literacy, it's too late, right? You've probably already tanked your credit score. You've probably already racked up, and it's really hard to get out of the hole, right? Unless you win the lottery or some shit like that. Like it's not gonna make sense. But, if they teach these things, or like if you take it on yourself to learn these things, when you're 18, right? Like when you start, when you can finally start to build credit for yourself, things like that. They never teach you these things in college, right? Like, so learning a little bit that way, like a book or two, it doesn't really take long, right? Like you can ask ChatGPT. They'll tell you, right? Little shit like that makes a big difference, because you see people crippled by like credit card debt and they don't even understand how it works, right? And then you get to like investing, and it's even harder, right? Like the system's set up for people like us to make it seem complicated, right? So, they can all win and stuff like that. It's not that complicated. It's just a lot of like jargon that's supposed to scare you away. So I would kind of recommend or incentivize people to take a look at it, read a book, right? You guys are doom scrolling all day on TikTok. Like, instead of doom scrolling on whatever Susie's wearing to Coachella this year, take a look on some financial literacy, right? Talk about someone that, talks about, how things work. What is an ETF? What is a stock? Maybe not options, but at some point, how do options work, right? These things, can pay yourself off in the long run. And, it's not going to hurt you, right? Being a little bit business savvy. You don't have to get an MBA to have financial literacy, at least on the individual level, right? And it doesn't take that much time to kind of study. So I would recommend everybody to do a little bit of homework. You spend, basically 18 years in school. What's another, 6 months kind of learning on how to manage your own money? Because if you don't manage your own money, no one's going to do it for you. And you're going to lose it, right? It's going to go in the trash.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because I have an undergrad degree in finance and an MBA.
Yeah.
Not one section of any class covered the topic of personal finance.
No, absolutely not. No. Why do they care for that? No. They're not going to try to teach you that. If everyone was good with their personal finances, then, those mongers, the hedge funds and all that stuff, they take advantage of people like us, right? They take advantage of the lack of financial literacy that the consumer has, and they use that to their advantage to make the rich richer, right? So, but it's not like they have access to information that we don't have. A lot of the stuff is public knowledge. Now, people like Nancy Pelosi, maybe she has some insider trading, either that or she's fantastic at what she does. But, for the most part, right? Like a lot of the information that a lot of these people, like these really wealthy people have, you have access to it, right? It's at your fingertips, and with the internet and, all this kind of stuff. These are tools that we have that they didn't have before, right? So why not use them, right? Like, everyone loves money, right? Everyone goes to work to try to get rich or, pay their bills, and, it makes your life easier, right? Like it's a vehicle to an easier life. Now, it's not going to buy you happiness necessarily, but it could help, right? So why not, right? Like, you have access to these things. And like you said, you spent your whole college career in the finance world. They don't teach you shit. Like, if you're not going to teach it to yourself, then no one's going to tell you. No one's going to knock on your door and be like, hey, Michael, let me teach you how to get rich, brother.
No, they will, but it'll be a scam.
Yeah, exactly. Let me teach you how to get rich. Can you buy these Google gift cards and send them to me in India?
Do not 3D.